There's a star man running down the right. His name is Madueke and he's ruddy dynamite. What's going on, friends? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan, and I hope that you, my dear sweet viewer, are doing well. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News here in the Stamford Bridge studio. Today we're reacting to an article from Matt Law of The Telegraph talking about Chelsea. Thiago Silva's injury, sadly. Mateo Kovacic wanted by Manchester City. We'll talk about the ins and outs. We'll also talk about big Graham Potter, his last chance, seemingly, to continue as the Chelsea manager before we potentially see a change of personnel. Thanks for joining me, dear friends. If you want to support the content, please do drop a like on the video. I apologise about the hair at the moment. I really should do something about the hair. Thanks for dropping a like. You're welcome to subscribe. And should you do Alright, Manchester City interested in Chelsea midfielder Mateo Kovacic writes Matty Law. Let's see what he's saying. Kovacic has attracted the interest of Manchester City, with the midfielder facing a big decision over his Chelsea future. But Chelsea have been hit by a more immediate blow after it was confirmed that defender Thiago Silva suffered a knee ligament damage against Tottenham Hotspur amid fears he could miss 6 weeks. By the way, without big Thiago Silva, we look terrible. He's played the most squad minutes for Chelsea this season, despite being a 38-year-old. I don't need to tell you, that's mental. So heavily reliant on him. But, you know, Wesley Fofana's coming back. He's a baller. He can play on the right. Badiashile can play on the left. Not in the Champions League, though, etc. While Chelsea have not put a time frame on Silva's absence, the defender will miss what could be defining games for head coach Graham Potter, against Leeds United and Borussia Dortmund, and it's unlikely to play before the international break at the end of March. Damn! I'll be 34 then. Midfielder Kovacic, so just on Thiago Silva, of course, this sucks buttocks. None of us want this. Look, it was a gnarly collision. It's amazing that he's played as much as he has and continues to do so. We cannot rely on this guy forever. We've got Koulibaly, Badiashile, Chalobah, and Wesley Fofana. We should be okay. Kovacic is one of a number of players whose current contract runs until 2024, and Chelsea are determined to avoid a scenario which they enter the final 12 months. Co-controlling owners Bowley and Igbali inherited a situation in which Thiago, Kante, Jorginho were all in their final years. Of course, Jorginho was sold to Arsenal in January, while Silva signed a new one-year deal, which is fine, and Kante is close to signing an extension. Now, on N'Golo Kante, ladies and gentlemen, Kante is going to sign till like a 4-year deal. He's going to do a Koulibaly, a 31-year-old signing a 4-year deal, which seems pretty wild. I mean, we're out here looking for feel-good stories, and if N'Golo Kante finds form and just decides he's going to do a Luka Modric and play at the highest level forever in the midfield, then yes, please sign that deal. Sign the contract, big guy, sign the contract. You probably know that reference, some of you. So the good news. But now, Kovacic, Mason Mount, Christian Pulisic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Cesar Azpilicueta, and Silva, again, doesn't matter because the dude will be pushing 40, are approaching the final year of their contract. Why is my computer doing stuff to me? Okay, weird. So, the situation is understood to have alerted Manchester City, whose manager, Pep Guardiola, is a big admirer of Kovacic and is expected to make changes to his midfield in the summer. City's top midfield target is Jude Bellingham. I can imagine he's everyone's top midfield target. But the club faced competition from Liverpool, Real Madrid, and Chelsea. We want that Jude Bellingham Enzo pivot, baby. Is that even a good pivot? I mean, I don't know if that's very balanced. The futures of Ilkay Gundogan, who is wanted by Barcelona, and Bernardo Silva, because he was wanted by Barcelona as well, are uncertain, while it remains to be seen what happens with Calvin Phillips. Yeah, that is weird. £50 million for Calvin Phillips has flown under the radar. That's mental. Like, dude is just not even there. It's wild. Who has made little impact since joining from Leeds United. It is not inconceivable that City will try and sign more than one midfielder in the summer, and Kovacic could provide a relatively cheap, top-class option if he does not sign a new Chelsea contract. Yeah, I mean, that's true. It'll be like Raheem Sterling, similar deal, but the other way around, even though Sterling's not performing. But then again, nobody is. I'll tell you about how I feel on this in a moment. City showed an interest in signing Kovacic from Real Madrid in 2018 before he joined Chelsea, initially on a loan, and it was noticeable that Guardiola approached the player at the end of the team's 1-0 victory over the London club at Stamford Bridge in January, when the 28-year-old produced a superb performance. Yeah, is he the kind of age bracket that Guardiola's want to go for? I mean, maybe if he's going to be not expensive and, you know... I know he's not the same as Fernandinho, but he was playing Fernandinho as a 35-year-old, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure. Not that he'd want to do that. On moving to Stamford Bridge, Sterling revealed that Kovacic has been the Chelsea player who has impressed him most whenever he played for his former club. Yeah, I remember him saying that in an interview, that Kovacic is next level. You know, best dribbler in the club, arguably, like an incredible player. Potter claimed Kovacic missed the defeat to Tottenham through illness, and Chelsea are likely to remain in the market for another midfielder in the summer. Look, man, on Kovacic, before we read on, he's a baller. He was last year, he was our best midfielder over Kante and Jorginho. Kante sort of dropped form. Jorginho, he was like the one, and he was younger. He was the one, like 27 years old, like in his prime, not in his 30s like his other midfield counterparts. You look to keep Kovacic. You know, he starts next to Modric for Croatia in that midfield. He's just a baller, really. You know, he's a great player. It's just, I guess it comes down to future planning and midfielder profile. What exactly do you need? Are you going to need this sort of ball carrier through the lines, or are you going to play a different style of football? Because there is, and this is not, he's a great player. He's press resistant and he's an amazing ball carrier. But there is an element, he's so useful, but there is an element of like vibes with Kovacic, and that's not a slight on him, because Hazard was all vibes, you know, and then Kante's vibes to a degree. You just drop them in because they're really good at certain things. They're not system players. Now, system players is like a derogatory term. Like, oh, he's a system player, he's crap. Well, actually, no. If you got system players in a system, you'll win the league. Do you know what I mean? So in a way, if they're just really good at sort of individual vibey stuff, a lot of the time that can hinder you as a team. It's good to have one wild card in there, but if you have loads of wild cards, and that's not me saying we should sell Kovacic, he's an excellent player. Chelsea are thought to be aware they could face competition over Kovacic, with clubs also circling around Mason Mount, who of course the contract talks have stopped. Liverpool, Manchester United, and Manchester City, and by the way, Juventus as well apparently, are showing interest in Mason Mount, while AC Milan are known to be admirers of Loftus-Cheek. I quite like that. I think Loftus-Cheek would do really well in, not that again, I don't know if he's got a future, he's a good utility player, but he'd just look good in the Milan kit, wouldn't he, Loftus-Cheek, and like, you know, playing with Tomori and fighting for Scudettos, like, it's quite a cool transfer, I think. Chelsea are not just considering the futures of those players whose contract expires in 24. Aubameyang, Azpilicueta expected to leave, allowed to leave, kind of makes sense. Even with Azpi, it just kind of makes sense still. But are also turning their attention to those who have 2 years left on their deal. For example, Kai Havertz is one of 6 first-team players whose contract runs to 2025. And moving forwards, Chelsea's owners ideally want players to commit themselves beyond 2 years or face being sold. It's keep retention and value of your assets, essentially, and that's what that is. That means big decisions could be taken over Havertz. The fan base will be split on him. Ben Chilwell, I'd like to think everyone would want Ben Chilwell to stay. I think. And Conor Gallagher, I'm not sure he's got, too many fans at the moment. With Ziyech expected to leave after being the PSG story. In the January transfer window, goalkeeper Edouard Mendy has already rejected a new contract offer. I think Mendy will go somewhere and be a first-team goalkeeper for a relatively decent Champions League club. Chilwell's long-term future has been placed in some doubt after Chelsea spent £60 million on left-back Marc Cucurella in the summer, but the England international has regained his place in the Chelsea team. Look, Chile is going nowhere. He's one of the best left-backs in the world, and he's by far our best left-back. Cucurella is a different kind of left-back and could be very good when he gets his confidence back. But yeah, would be absolutely speaking about Man City interests, they'd snap up Chilwell if they could. They need a left-back. They've looked at him before. They'll look at him again. They would absolutely say Chilwell, and that's saying something. Other than discussing the futures of players of 2 or less years on their contracts, Chelsea are preparing to offer a new deal to Levi Colwill, who they want to return to the club next year. Good news, good young player. Maybe if Koulibaly gets sold, I'm not saying he should, but if he does, Colwill can come and fill that space in the squad. Other than discussing the futures of players with 2 or years or less left on their deal, we just said that. Colwill has impressed at Brighton, and he's very good. Of course, we've got Badiashile. And like I just said, there's a question mark over Koulibaly's future. And it goes on. Let me know what you think. Thiago Silva knee injury, bad. Although we should have enough to cover. It's just we've got that no seniority on the pitch to just grab the team by the gonads and be like, look, this ain't happening. There's a strong argument to be made that had Thiago Silva not come off against Tottenham, we don't maybe concede those goals, silly soft goals. Maybe, but that's kind of not the point because it's not like we score goals. So there's that issue. And look, let's talk about Potter a little bit because, it's a hot topic. Also, feel free to comment on the Kante contract extension, etc., etc. Right, Graham Potter. Last chance. Multiple reports, different publications, different journalists are reporting that, if he screws up these games, he's effed in the A. And fair play. I mean, eventually something's got to give, right? You need a performance. You just can't keep losing. For me, like I said, for a while, it's not even results, it's performances. You need performances. And even if it is a good ship, the good ship Chelsea behind the scenes and everyone's having training hard and having a nice time or whatever, it just doesn't matter. Sometimes even with this profound leniency, and by the way, this is profound leniency. They were like, look, if we don't get champions, Chelsea sign all these mega players in the summer, and indeed the January window. The recurring theme, the recurring narrative is, don't worry, even if, God forbid, Chelsea don't get Champions League football, even if that happens, we will still stick with Graham Potter. We're a bit far off that, aren't we? Because not getting Champions League football, you're like, oh, God, that'd be, do they finish 5th or 6th? God, Bro, we're trying to get to 8th or 7th. That is a different kettle of fish. And to be honest, I reckon even this profound leniency would represent, even in this position in mid-table, had we started scoring goals and players had smiles on their faces and we linked up and scored some wicked goals, that would almost be enough, I've voiced my concerns a lot on the channel that the damage from sacking Potter and all his crew would be profound financially and potentially structurally. But if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. And also, it's so important that we don't jeopardize, I want to give focus again, jeopardize all this work behind the scenes by just bringing in a time bomb like Jose Mourinho. It would need to be an intelligent appointment, genuinely. But I'd like to think many people align with me on that. I'm seeing Thomas Frank as well in the news. Look great, but he's just another hipster's choice. He's the same as Graham Potter. Is that the answer? Or do you just end up in the same position and another 80 million down from sacking all the staff and getting them again, and everything's going wrong, and, you know, etc., etc. You need, like, I don't know, man. This is why I'm so reluctant to just immediately start getting sensational. Anyway, let me know what you think. I hope you've enjoyed the content today. Please do show me that by dropping a like and subscribing. I road to 170k. I hope you're all doing very well. Look after each other. Be nice to each other. That would be good. And I'll see you soon. Peace.